you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Oh my God, that was the wrong. I did the outro, not the intro. I see what happens when you're live. And I was just telling Lydia that I like shooting from the hips, as prepared as I can be, and still keep that feeling. Well, I did something at the last minute, and because I was running late. I mean, my God, Lydia was early. We're just sitting back there chit chat. You know how I normally stress because it's like 2 minutes to, and somebody goes boop, and they pop on. Then I got to go through about 6 minutes of just general. Yeah, we do this or that or this or that. You guys know how it is. Wow. But when we opened up today, we already had 5. We already have 5 people on. I haven't even said anything yet. Lydia, you're going to have to be the responsible one in this little party we're having. She and I are already going to go maybe hit up some Longhorns a little bit later. She lives just over the border of Texas from me as I live in Oklahoma. So we're both right here in the heartland in the great middle class or in the middle of this great country of ours, the backbone of being the middle class, the backbone and the strength of the industrial as well as the financial power within this country. In this country, if you've got a healthy middle class, you've got a strong America, and the world needs a strong America, especially right now. I don't think there's too many wherever your politics at. Oh my goodness. We got 60 people on, Lydia. You're going to have to run with this pretty soon. So we're not streaming to Instagram. I wasn't able to get that reconnected. So we'll but all the other ones we are. We're talking a little bit about today, and you guys know with our regeneration school program, and then Voices Around the Table on Saturdays at 11 o'clock Central Time. That's how I found out where she was. I knew it, but I wasn't right. Or I was right, but I didn't know I was. So with that, we're getting into somebody who her career path has always fascinated me because I've always heard about grants. I've been told, especially with the Regeneration School Project, about grants. As you all know, we stream here from the Mangum. I'm in Mangum, by the way, if you know where that is, Lydia. I know you said I'm probably, her and I are closer together than my distance apart than my kids and my granddaughter, my newest granddaughter. 2 years old. I'll be driving through your town here in about 3 weeks. I'm going to her birthday party here pretty quick. So a lot to talk about today. She was with FEMA. I don't remember if I'm exact right on this number, but like $17.8 billion. She managed that fund, and then that got her to the other, started locally and started working through some different programs as you do as you build your career. Hers happened to be in relief of tragedy, and what we were talking about right before I realized I was holding you guys up. We're really getting into it, and I thought it was kind of neat. Oh wow, 169 people, and we're just now at 4 minutes. You're way ahead of the curve here. I was not sure how this subject would go, because like me, everybody knows about grants. We were talking about, you've got grant books you're supposed to read through. And of course, every year, right, Lydia? Every year it changes the regulations and all that, right? Yeah, I see you agreeing with me. And you guys don't really know if she is, but I'm telling you, she's totally agreeing with me because she knows how smart I am. And so we are now going to bring on stage my new bestest friend ever in the world. She's a grant funder, but one thing I wanted to get into, what she's doing and has had experience with, which I thought was very cool. The coolest part of it, most of it of her career has been through distribution, but in the receiving end, where you where you meet the people. You know, that's where the heart touches the road. How you doing, Lydia?
I'm well, Rod. Thank you for having me. So glad to meet your audience. Hi,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes, and we have 209 people on now.
Very nice.
So, like I told you when you were in the green room, and I think some of them were watching you. And so far, I think you were moving towards those peanuts, but I think we're okay right now. And I just wanted to bring up that I think today's going to be a really interesting subject because frankly, I'm shocked so many people are on this early. Um, and that means there's probably a lot of activity in the rebuilding of things. There's disaster relief, but there's also situations like mine where or this shows where the show is kind of growing and building and it's becoming more than just me. I mean, I can't. So there's grants and there's aid. Why don't you start with your journey and then kind of go through somebody like me who kind of knows. I think I know 70% of it, but probably really know about 30%. But make it easy enough, or maybe even 10% or 3%, but make it easy enough where I can kind of get a clue, right?
Yeah.
Because I like to say, if I understand it, anybody here is going to understand it. They're way smarter than me.
Yeah.
So why don't we go on with that right there, huh?
Sure. So I'll just go through a quick introduction. I'll make it as quick as possible. I don't really like talking about myself that much, but it always kind of happens, right?
It does. It has to. It's part of the deal.
Yeah. So I actually started first in the disaster recovery world where I started learning just what grants even is. And that was with FEMA. So I ended up with FEMA for about 15 years or so, managing, as you said, over $18 billion. In the meantime, that's increased, but it's not really about the dollars or the money. It's about the constituents and the citizens that I've served over the years. And so moving from the federal world was inspiring to me, just learning more and more about the audience that I was seeing and the audience that I was helping. And actually
Can we hover here for a second? By the way, I forgot to tell you, I may interrupt you every once in a while because
no
I'm
problem.
at safety net and I'm going to want you to dig down a little bit. I agree with you that over $18 billion, it's not about the money, but what it is about is what's the bureaucracy like?
Man.
Because there's been a lot of discussions about FEMA. Let's not get political here, but let's edge against the border of it.
Yeah.
And you know, how difficult is that? Okay, you've been on the receiving end and the distribution side. The distribution side's where you gain your credibility and you build your abilities and people are looking. But on the receiving side is where what you just leaned into now, which is the audience, the people,
Yep.
the heart.
Yeah.
How difficult is the bureaucracy in the one side that does affect, and hopefully it's getting better. I don't know. And I know you're not in FEMA anymore, but let's just hover around FEMA for a minute if we could, not go by it too fast because it's the one thing I think most people, everybody knows kind of what it is.
Sure.
Can you fill all that in for us with that picture and talk about how good or bad it is internally to be able to get externally things done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is good or bad. Teeter totter, right in the middle, right? I will say there are a lot of good things that FEMA does, and they're not going to change. They are going to stay this way because that's the way this country operates. It's huge. It's a massive
bureaucracy. Yeah.
So a lot of that goes to just administering the funds, just making sure that the right people get the funds. And unfortunately, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of funds spent to make sure that there's no fraud, waste, and abuse going on. And over time, about 55%.
That's what I was going to ask about. Sorry. I was sorry. I'll try and be better at that. That's what I was going to ask about because there is a lot of money that is invested but not distributed because what you just said, it has to protect against fraud, and that boils down to the local level, right? Not the fraud, but it's multiple things. There's people on, like when remember when the Louisiana happened? I went down there and when all the trailers came in, you know, and that entire, well, it's under the sea level anyway, but I was there during that time, and that was pretty radical all the way around. It was I think one of the first times you saw how difficult it is for such a bureaucracy to manage things without having things slip through. Like the trailers cost a couple $100,000 each or something like that. So how big, there's a lot of money is what you just said spent on making sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen. And is there any way to peel that? There's really no way to peel that back because of the bureaucracy, right? Or is there, in your opinion?
There's absolutely a way to peel it back. And that's kind of where my journey took me after I left FEMA. Just while I was with FEMA, the standard amount that goes to fraud, waste, and abuse is approximately 45% of all grant funding. But,
whoa, hold there. 45% of all grant funding is fighting abuse really?
Is abuse. Is
abuse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. About 10% of it is fighting that. So take your jacket off. It's gonna get hot.
Yeah. I just got all steamy there. I'm like, okay. So 10% is out there to fight it, but 45% is literally fraud.
Is literally fraud. Yep. But
I'm thinking of Doge right now. Sorry.
I have an opinion on that. I probably won't voice, but
I totally agree with you.
I think that set us back a little bit more than brought us forward. However, the 10% goes to people like me. When I was working with FEMA, those are the people that are trying to keep the stewardship on the federal dollars and make sure the money gets spent where it's supposed to. And that's where I spent most of my time with FEMA. But ultimately, I lost my view of what my goals were in life and making sure that I help the constituents, because ultimately 45% of the dollars do go to save lives, do go to bring people back to where they were prior to disaster, helping to build roofs, helping to build the schools back, the bridges, all the dams. We have so many programs that we still were able to fund with that 45%. Ultimately, you have to look at it in the light of what is it worth saving a life or thousands of lives, even maybe millions of lives. What is the cost to that? What is the benefit ratio to that? 45% is not bad when you look at it in that light.
Wow. Just a quick sidelight here. Todd Martin threw out amazing insights. Thank you, Lydia. And this is where it's, Ronalda, who's a very big friend of the show, could you go over different grants that are offered? So the reason she's asking the question was the same reason, because she's I think she's asking this about the regeneration. So what are different kinds of grants? We might be a little bit earlier for this, but we're going to be getting into these questions. So I just wanted to pop that in there for a second. Go ahead.
No problem. So, we just talked about the federal grants. Those are very bureaucratic, lots of red tape, hard to get into. You really need to know your program and have it designed and kind of already have it stood up. So that's what makes them harder. But then stepping down a level is more what we're doing now in 2025 because of the freeze and the federal budget not being as fluid as it should be. We're looking at foundation grants. We're looking at grants that come from corporations and are then turned around and given to nonprofits mostly. And then we have a lot of corporate sponsorships and things like that we're looking more at in this year, at least in 2025. So a lot of corporations are making up for that freeze that we're seeing in the federal government, whether it's contracts or grants. They're giving more.
Okay, so 2025. Right now, you're speaking as a private in the consulting agency umbrella or hat or whatever you want to call it, right? That's what you're talking about. So I did not know this. So corporations get involved with quote unquote grants. Are they still grants at that point then?
Yeah, they're still.
Do they have a different?
They can be considered grants. They have their own rules and regulations that aren't federal, of course, but the requirements, they mirror what the federal government wants to see. So a lot of it, it's just taken out of the same playbook. If we give you X amount of million of dollars, we still want to see a return on investment on that. And what would that look like? You have to be good at establishing your numbers, your data, and showing that your program design can sustain those dollars. And even after those dollars are gone, after the grant is spent, how will you continue that program?
So why do corporations do this? Is this the same sort of thing as a right for a write-off, as if they were donating something to somewhere? I mean, is it that same concept, or is it because corporations have a mission and you facilitate part of that mission so all companies need to keep the light on. Yep. Okay. That's basic, right? They need to make a profit. They need to do this, but they also have different corporations. They're run by different people or organizations that have different missions that are subordinate to what their product is or service, product or services. Absolutely. So all of that's the picture. How does that I mean, if you've got governments now, I know you said there's a shutdown right now. It started yesterday. Yeah. I mean, let's not get into politics because there's a lot of games going on there. So many games. And the problem is not really us, because it takes a while. On the 15th is when things really start to get. This is how many times has this government been here? I mean, politics, freaking politics.
The money we spend on shutdown costs us more than to stay afloat and just keep the government open. It costs us more to shut down.
Say that again. Meaning what? The money to shut down, meaning?
So now we're still paying federal employees, yet they're not able to work. They're not able to move the money forward. They're not able to complete their jobs, their missions. And we have deliberation over how to move forward with this money. The money is still going to flow regardless. And so we're just paying double for shutdown.
Okay. So that's what I thought you were talking about. And I couldn't agree with you more. And okay, let's hover along the edge of politics, just because I want to address why any statement that comes out to us. We have political and current events, but I'm an independent. I don't care whether you're red or blue. Mm-hmm. I don't give a crap, pardon my language, but I care what kind of person you are. I vote split ticket pretty regularly, and in Chicago, it just depends on who. I moved here from Chicago after moving here from California. So I've kind of grown up in the world of, okay, certain things make sense, certain things don't. Mm-hmm. That's why I listen to all different news channels and so forth, just so you can filter down, because what we have to do is come together and say, okay, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. Okay, but have you heard this, and do you agree? That discourse is very important. And it's something that politicians keep us as much as possible from not doing. Divide by sex, by gender, mm-hmm. divide by the color of your skin, divide by mm-hmm. religion, keep all those things, and then throw out things so they can fight about it. And then the government does whatever the heck it wants. Yep. And that's how it works. And they've had three millennia to figure that out over the years. Now our leaders have given us a little bit of a curveball to where we can vote these people in and out very easy. But guess what? We don't, right? You vote one way or you vote the other. You only listen to, mm-hmm. I'm going to be extreme here, CNN and MSNBC, or you listen to Fox and whatever the other one I've gone blank on. But and that's all you get your information from, and it's skewed. And so now the government's able to operate in ways that you're describing, we're describing actually, and it's our fault, and we should stop doing that. That's our whole political gig. The rest of it's about mental health and finance and stuff like how to get my company from going to the next step or into the next step. So when you said that, the right now the corporations are kind of stepping up a little bit more. Is that because you're driving it, or is it because corporations are seeing, have been seeing, know that this is going to be coming up, that somebody's going to need more power, and they're going to drive their base one way or the other, and they're each going to tell lies about it, why we're here.
Yeah,
they are. And a continuing resolution should be passed and moved on, but instead we shut down the government. WTF, right?
Or at least let the government continue working. I mean, a corporation doesn't shut down because they don't know what their budget's going to be for the next fiscal year. So
correct.
But
and why? And on that, why does the government not already have it taken care of? Why do we always wait till the last day? Enough about politics. You say whatever you want to say, and then let's get back to the important subject here.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall on some of those budget meetings, but I can. Nothing gets done. I know that much.
That's very common, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So most of the corporations, I would say, have a common goal when they issue their own grants and foundations. Yeah. So I didn't get to tell you this, but I'm an immigrant, right? I immigrated from Germany when I was a young adolescent, I would say, because I'm only in my 20s now, so that was not that long ago.
Stop it. Okay, stop it. Quit doing that. Okay.
Okay.
Looks wise, I believe you. I think you're 16, 17, 18, 19. But experience wise, because when I looked at you, I bit it, folks. She nailed me. I mean, my God.
I got good.
Yeah, she got me good. I was like, okay, I'm going. Okay. Because it took me about 15 seconds to go. I went, oh, you are? And then about 8-9 seconds, I started going, wait a minute. And she did it again. So you're an immigrant from Germany. You came across how long ago? When you were a kid-ish?
I came across on time to complete college here.
Came over here.
Yeah.
Came over here
to start college. So I completed college here in the United States, and that was great time. But
wait, you were in Germany all the way up until you were through high school?
Yeah.
Out of high school?
Yeah. Well, I had to finish high school here to get my diploma, because high school in Germany is not the same as here. So I did the diploma here.
Trust me, I know that much because I'm in that. I like Europe's educational system a little bit better because they direct people a little earlier in life. And
it's a lot different. It sure is.
How do you not have such an accent, though? Well, I'm confused all over the place now.
I guess I'm just really good at linguistics, because people say that all the time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I would have never guessed. Wow, and that's interesting. What part of Germany, by the way? I know Germany very well. I've been there a bunch.
I was born in Stuttgart, and I was actually just there until September, or maybe a month before that.
Are you going to go back? Are you going to go back for Christmas?
Oh, it's too cold for my taste. I don't like it.
I'll tell you though, Christmas in Germany is
it is beautiful. It is.
Oh, it's beautiful. The fairs and all the different stuff. Hey, we're sitting here chatting, and I'm getting a little bit behind here. So continue with the finish off your thought here, because we've got 6-7 questions I'm behind on right now.
All right. So my one goal for bringing up that I'm an immigrant is, you look at a lot of these corporations and just kind of see how they get to issuing their programs, their grant programs. Really, it's a lot for marketing. So if you notice, when the government jumped on DEI and they implemented DEI, so did the corporations, and they were targeting certain groups around the country, depending on what they sold. Their DEI programs were a lot of marketing, and it just helped them sell their program a little bit more. But my message to the audience is jump on that opportunity when you see it. Yes, it does look like marketing, but at the same time, when can you use it to your advantage? For example, with your education, I know that there are some programs out there that are probably meant to market this certain corporation, but it could also help you along the way.
Take advantage of that is what you're saying. Know where to be at the right time. So
Yep.
so when you say that, how okay, if you're a professional, if you're in your lane, if you're a professional, you know all about this, then that's easy. But for me, what you're just telling me is your example was DEI. Somebody's marketing the fact that they're involved in the DEI transformation and the way that works within the government and then in certain corporations. That's evolving now too. Again, as you know, the pendulum, right?
Exactly.
It goes all the way over here and it goes all the way over here. If we could only get it to just stay right in here, we'd have a pretty good lifestyle.
It would never stay right in there.
No, that's where most of the people are. That's where most of the people are. Most of America, and by extension, the world is right in here. Lean a little left, lean a little right, depending on what it was. That's the way.
If you pay attention to what the government is doing, we can probably forecast what the corporations will be doing by the beginning of next quarter. Those will be their themes. They'll run it into their
quarter. You said next quarter.
By the end of next March, I would predict that the corporations are going to align their corporation foundations with what the federal government strategic plan is.
What do you think that'll look like? Because you've got a lot of experience. You've got almost 20 years. By the way, I thought you were moving to Germany. That's where I got confused about that. That's two separate subjects, but in the information, you went to Germany to start doing this around the world.
Yeah.
But you're actually from around the world more.
Yeah.
More
So it's just locational.
Yeah. And Germany's a pretty cool place to be. A lot of places are having a whole lot of different issues. So what I really try and push on the show is start looking at other places, other things. You know, we live in these boxes, you know, going out and enriching yourself. You know, these are ways that things that you should do, that we should do. You know, no radical transformation. So, but let's go back here. So, what do you think people should be looking at? You're talking about education. You're talking about different things, and now that pendulum's swinging back to whatever degree. You probably know more than I. Well, you do know more than I do. So, what should folks like? I have my own thing that might make sense, right? The regeneration school project, voices around the table, giving teens their voice, and adding a fifth core into the educational system. You got math, English,
which is actually a great example. Yep.
And then, but what schools don't do is they don't prepare you for life. High schools, you know, you're growing up. Well, actually, not so much, right? But they teach you how to pass tests, right? I mean, and I'm not knocking the school system, but I am knocking the school system. And I already told you, I like Europe's a little better for that basic foundation, but I think this should change the world. What that fifth core should be, it should be preparing kids for life. You know, all the other things that you would vaguely history, how's that going to help you? Vaguely English, obvious, but how's it going to help you? Vaguely math, okay, where are you going to go with that? And then science, that's a little bit more of an obvious. But there's nothing there that ties all that together and says, here's how you can start a business, here's how you can start, you know, work. We have people on here that that educate their kids at home, and those kids already starting business. I mean, time after time after time after time, the results of that is so much better. Now they're starting to pull it back in and saying, okay, you can teach your kids at home, but you have to follow these rules, which is exactly why people are getting out of the school system. Now, I think putting in a fifth core project, and that's something we can always talk about when we're writing my grant. So,
Absolutely.
but it gets in very deep, and there's obviously a little bit more to it. But it all came out of this program and talking to people, especially people who have homeschooled their kids and private schooled their kids. There's a big, I mean, you can add for $12,000 a year. I sent my kid to in Chicago. Well, it's actually less than that. It was 11 and change. I sent my kid to private school, and he got a better education versus I think it was $47,000 in the public school where they're not reading it at grade level.
Yep.
So that's what we have to deal with, right?
Yep. And to go back to your pendulum, I think that is absolutely one of the directions we'll probably see a lot of corporations go, even the government. A lot of the funding will probably be directed towards education. We saw in the most recent news, $500 million was redirected to HBCUs and other colleges, tribal focused. And I just see that being probably one of the new pinpoints where the funding is going to go and focus. I see a lot of focus on AI and just kind of like, you mentioned that fifth new STEM item. It could be AI. Yes. I think we as a
it's part of it. I think AI has to be a very integral part, not only learning AI, we teach it in a community here, but also in this fifth core, AI can really pull a lot of data and statistics. Okay, this kid is trending this way. He should be or she should be moving this way. I'm a strong believer. Now, what you do before 5 years old, when your personality is already developed. I'm sorry, I'm taking this over a little bit too much. You're on about an hour, and okay, you have to be right at an hour, or can we get an extra couple of minutes after an hour?
I've got until 1:30.
And it's
21 more minutes.
Oh, you got 20. Okay. I'm not going to say another freaking word.
No, you're fine. This is good because it falls right into what you're saying. I do think that education is probably going to be the next best thing in grants. That's what we're going to look at. I've already seen some focus of the educational grants go to mining schools. I know that is a tough topic on what industry we want to support. But lots of those types of grants have focused on.
What are mining schools? There's actual schools that teach mining, like the science educational of mining. Of finding coal and doing all that?
Yes, because one of the agendas in higher administration is mining and coal and gas. So that's where some of the so that's where I say look at what your administration is doing and then see what direction that takes the government, and the rest will follow.
Smart. That's basic that I wouldn't even think about. That makes sense. So okay, folks, that's whoa. There's 580 people on right now.
You're on a roll.
No, you're on a roll. I'm just riding. All right. Let's not keep you too long here. So let's go back to Ronalda. She says, could you go over different grants, which we're doing right now? And I think you're already kind of leaning you're leaning into this when you're answering what you're talking about. But what coal education, that's and at HBSC, I mean, I know the historically Black schools,
right?
They're very much supported by this administration. Always has been. Last administration too. It's a very important, because I believe that education, and I believe this administration, whether it be your politics, at least that part, I've seen history. Like you go back 40 years, and he's always done that. There's a lot of bad press about him because of different things. But at the point of what you just said there, so when you say that, are you saying that education as a whole, or education towards certain minority groups or certain groups, or just education as a whole?
So you have to kind of understand how the money trickles downward, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, our administration will say, okay, I want $500 million to go towards education. It's up to our Congress and our our spokespeople how or where that money will go. So depending
Sure.
on what state you live and what is your topic of education. So the Mining Act is one topic that is ran by certain representatives, and that's their bill to take and try
In
to
Congress.
right and
Gotcha.
try to grab
Okay,
part
gotcha.
of that pot of money. And the HBCUs might be someone else's focus. So just those are the people you have to pay attention to. What are they wanting to do with that money?
Ah.
Where does that money going to go? And even the Mining Act is divided into 10 different universities. I don't know exactly which ones, but I do know some are in Oklahoma. So 10 different
And
universities.
Tennessee, I bet you Tennessee
I
too. I
bet.
bet you this whole region here,
Exactly.
southeast region, right?
I think it's like the Appalachian area, but yeah, so there's
Yes.
so I guarantee you whoever is in seat over that area probably fought for those universities to get that $10 million pot of money to go towards mining education.
Wow.
Just to bring students and have the money in their area with their constituents. And so you can really read a lot on, just while you're looking at the budget, looking at the federal regulations and what's coming out, what's on the docket, and kind of understand where the money is going to go. Because the trickle effect is so slow that we won't see it here at our level until next year, probably next summer.
So that's where you were saying that with the shifts in administration,
Exactly.
corporations are stepping up more for 2025. Yeah, but really for 2026, that's where you're going to see it.
Yeah.
And so you got to do that now at the end of 2025. And also, folks, listen, that was huge what she just said. Start looking at the budgets. I never thought of this.
Mhm.
I mean, that's so, well, you know what you're doing. So
Yeah.
it's brilliant for me to now know that, because I had no clue. But
That's what I'm
looking
here
at
for.
the budget. Yes. Folks, listen to this, man. Oh, by the way, can you put your contact information in the private chat? I don't know why you can't put it straight in the comments. I don't know how it works, but I'll copy and paste that and put that over, because people are going to want to contact you. Trust me. 580 people might be contacting you right now.
Fine.
I'm going to be contacting you too, because I want to learn more about this and I want to see what the options are. I've got a number of what they call whales that are I'm sending information to, and what do you look like in 3 years? Kind of probably a lot of the same stuff. That's a very basic, but in the business plan and all that stuff, just like anything else, just like when I started my machinery business, I had a business plan, right? So it's more or less that same process, which isn't easy, but how do you make that process easier?
So what I did is stood up Grant Our Community after I left the federal government, because while I was with the federal government, I couldn't really tell all of those secrets,
True.
but I can now.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I offer grant writing services, and most of those are provided to nonprofits that don't have that don't have a large budget or don't have resources. And then after a grant is won, I offer the grants management part and the compliance piece to it, because who knows all these rules and regulations, right? We just talked about how a lot about it, but most general population don't. And then I also provide the training. So I wouldn't just leave an entity or an organization with this pot of $1 million and say, here you go, good luck. They get the training, right, to go with it. So all three aspects is a full circle. All of the grant from pre-award to post-award are the services that I offer.
So the services that you offer go to, what does your average client look? And I know it varies. I know this isn't a fair question, but as best as you can describe it, I mean, are you going from the mom and pop, the micro quote unquote company to the 1,000 employee or 10,000 employee corporation? I mean, or do you have somewhere where you find what you do is the most useful? Because the 10,000 employee one probably has a staff that does manage certain things, or I don't know, something like that. Where's your sweet spot?
My sweet spot is your audience. I don't really care how many employees you have or
Okay.
how big you are. Who's your audience and who are you serving? If you're not serving someone that I can align my mission with, then that's something we can talk about. But that's basically what I do, and just try to align my mission with your mission and who you're serving. So I know, for example, you're educating, children. That's a mission I can get behind. Where there are other types of education, for parenting, for example, is one mission that I.
That's part of our program, by the way. That's the after school, because if you educate the kids, but the parents don't have the tools,
You're in the same boat.
or
Mhm.
yeah, it's a vicious circle. It's just like putting an expensive Band-Aid, like
Yep.
the government usually does. Like, just say no to drugs. Oh, that went well. Spent billions of dollars doing it. It was an attempted Band-Aid. So, like you said, I'm so glad you said parents. Go on with that. I'm gonna do something here. Go on with that, please.
I mean, just like you said, you have to fix, the tree at the roots, and for the apple to fall
Love
off the right way. So, there are a lot of programs out there that serve the parents along with the children, instead of just focusing on the children. And so those are all missions I can get behind. And I know here I saw the comment Todd had, how can small nonprofits start using AI for grants?
Yes.
That's easy enough. I would say the small nonprofits that don't have the budget to hire their own grant writer should definitely utilize AI to their advantage. Now, don't rely on AI 100%, but it can definitely help you.
I was going to say.
Yeah, programs.
I was going to say, I mean, it's good, but you think about AI, you still have to, you can't just say, write this. I have no concept what to say there, but you can't just say, write this, because you have to go back and AI, all it is a memory. It's not a human being.
Right.
And it's important. It's critical. It serves a huge purpose and will get a lot better, but you still you can't just say, write that, because the end result's typically not exactly correct. Right.
Yes. So you'll never replace a grant writer with AI. I feel perfectly secure in my field.
You're not threatened? You're not threatened?
No, AI is not smarter than me. I know that much.
Yeah, no doubt. And how would it, here's the thing. It's like garbage in, garbage out. So even at AI's best, first of all, you have to train it. I mean, I've spent a year and a half training my agents to do what they're supposed to do. And then they start all day long. All they do is figure out how to make my life better. But if I'm putting garbage in, they're going off on, I mean, I've made mistakes, and next thing you know, you're down a rabbit hole and going, this has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's where you have to be careful. And I also offer that as a training too, where a small nonprofit can just utilize the trainings and the prompts. And I actually have an AI that I can share with some of the nonprofits, so they could do better at writing their grants, because face it, some of these grants are small. They don't have the resources to go after them. Nobody wants to pay thousands of dollars to a grant writer for these smaller grants. So definitely something I can help out with. Just contact me.
Just kind of helping them, saying, hey, you could do this or that. Now, staying on the AI thing, thank you, Todd, for your question. Thank you, Ronaldo, for your question as well. I'm sure I'll talk to you a little bit later. But Mike here, staying with AI, can AI really simplify the reporting side? Because you talked about that training, and then you've got a compliance reporting.
Yeah,
it can help there.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, what AI has helped me to do is just that deep research in the population and the demographics of that population.
Yes.
Where you have to justify where and how you use your funding. Let's say, I have a client that does health right now, and while they know all about, their pharmacy and their doctors and their nurses, they don't know much about the area and the demographics about in their direct immediate area. But that's where AI can help me figure out what's the demographic look like. What is the racial composition? What is the gender composition? How many children are there? Okay, if I see an area where there are more children, I might need to provide sports medicine for kids
Oh,
that
yeah.
can't afford, a doctor's visit, or I can bring in a physician assistant to do the what is the form, the sports exception form. So just things like that is where you definitely use AI for compliance reporting. I would say more data mining rather than,
Awesome for
yeah,
that.
it's all
Awesome for
about
that.
compliance is all
Yeah.
about data. You can justify any action, almost any action, um, with using correct data.
All right. So let's, if we're looking at this, so we just talked with Mike about the AI. There's a little bit of AI, and I really want to pull these off before you go, because I'm going to be able to try and mimic whatever you would say. But there's a lot of, I see why there's this extra jump here, because there's a lot of tie-in with AI, and there's a lot of AI in the world.
Yep.
And this is probably a younger group here.
And I
Because
definitely use AI for almost everything I do. So I encourage folks to study AI and get into it
I
and
do
use it
too.
and it saves so much time. And I do have a training course on that too.
Oh, okay. Well, can you get to that? I
Yep.
put this here. Can
It's
you
on-
get to that off of that address?
Yep, that's my website is grantartcommunity.org. And so my email is lydia@grantartcommunity.org. That's it.
That doesn't even take AI to figure that one out. You got it. So we come down, we got a couple more that I at least want to get with you. I know we kind of ran long here.
Yeah. Oh, so
Um,
Rob has a good question. What's the
hold
biggest
on.
mistake?
Yeah.
I was going to
I
say, I was going to tie that right into AI, because the biggest mistake organizations make now is relying on AI 100% to do everything for them.
yes, that's what we were talking about earlier, because that's going to mess you up, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right now, in
And
this
which
moment,
ways?
it's so new. It's just the hype.
Yeah, and do people watch out for that? I know there's certain things like in SEO and so forth that if it detects AI within the writing, it'll start dropping you down in different things. Do they have that in the compliance world? Do they want, so you're helping people guide into a place where they can qualify for this grant.
Yeah.
And that involves everything we're talking about. If somebody's not using somebody like you and they're AIing it, I don't know if that's even a word. They're AIing it. Is that detectable? Can that be punishable by when it finished that turn? Is it,
No.
or is it not? It's just a matter of it doesn't work as well as you think it might.
Yeah, it could be punishable by denial. You just might simply
That's
not
what
get
I mean.
anywhere because it sounds so generic. You sound like one of 5, 10, 20 other applications. And usually if you have your program design set, and this is where a logic model comes in handy, is you kind of just write out all of your activities, you write out all your resources, who's going to help you. And then all of that combined, there's no way AI can do that for you. So you still need the human touch.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm not surprised by that. On to the point you just talked about, John Morris here. This is his second question. And I skipped it before. How can AI help nonprofits win more competitive grants?
Yeah.
And you talked about how you can lose those grants because it sounded like 15 others. Flip side, what's the best? Well, hiring you is the best way because but as an answer to that, what would you do as the best way to win more grants than your competitor? At this point, you're competing with other people.
Yeah.
It's not like one grant comes up and I think I'll go do that one. Okay.
Brainstorming. The brainstorming piece, I think, is the most important part. So you're not necessarily using AI's words, but you're using AI to help you create a value proposition. What sets me apart from other people, other nonprofits? And so just kind of doing that data mining again, that research on your competitors. What are they doing differently? What can you do better? Maybe what the areas you need to improve in. That's how AI can help you. Again, just the research is prior to submitting a grant application and actually using your own words to write the application, put it all together and show that creativity behind the data mining.
And authenticity. You got to be authentic. I mean, you can read into that, right? You know, if, like you said, if it just sounds vanilla like all the others, but if you're being authentic, that's why people grant grants, right? It's because you're in need, not just because you're in business, right? Or you're in whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so can Rick here already kind of answered this, but a little tweak on it. Can small nonprofits benefit from AI tools on a budget?
Yeah.
Which I assume is absolutely yes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Everything we talked about is on a very small budget so far.
Well, and also defining the budget, I think, is where we're talking about here. Can small nonprofits benefit from AI tools on let's say he said creating a budget.
Yep.
Now, I know what he said, on a budget, meaning, like you said, not very much money, but creating a budget is probably pretty damn good at it, isn't it?
Yeah, I would definitely say here, maybe not so much for creating the budget itself, because it needs a lot of input from the human, the person.
Okay.
It can give you a lot of ideas, and it can make sure that you're not forgetting, hey, if you buy a vehicle, you might also want to consider buying the gas or putting the mileage in your budget, right? Or,
Good point.
things like that. So that's where I think it can definitely help. But again, I would not rely on it 100%. And then the other thing I was going to say, AI on a budget, there are a lot of nonprofit benefits out there. I'll say, for example, Canva is my favorite tool. It does a lot of graphic design. I'll say,
yeah, I use Canva. Yeah,
it's free for nonprofits,
but I use it. Oh, it is?
Yes. Google Workspace is free for nonprofits, and so is Microsoft Suites. So yes,
save so much money.
You can do a lot with AI on a budget as well.
Okay, I need to talk to you. All right. So Danny, what's the best way to start finding federal grants? Hello.
Grants.gov is a free website. Take a look there. What I would say is start looking at the eligibility and start talking to your partners. Get partnerships, because most nonprofits or even non-government entities cannot handle a federal grant first round. That's not a good place to start if you're not a government entity.
Okay, say that again.
So if you're not a city, a county, or a state,
okay.
A federal grant is most likely going to be too much for you to bite off if that's your first grant. Not saying it can't be done, because there are some grants that will be broken down into smaller parts later on. But I would say those probably would come from the county or the city that you live in. But take a look at grants.gov, kind of study it, see what the eligibility is. That'll give you a hint on where to go next if you do find a grant program you really think you would qualify for.
And I put that in the comments too, down below there. David, sorry, I'm trying to rapid fire here, because these are things I don't know anything about. Sometimes I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And this I know a very little bit about. So what skills should nonprofits develop to use AI effectively? There's a lot of, this is really going to be a big part of your life, more and more and more and more, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say, first, before you start looking at skills, create an AI policy so that all of your folks are aware of what the rules are. What can they put into AI? What do they need to keep proprietary? Things like that. And then create some training so that you can brand your AI and how it speaks. So give it your brand voice. I think that's number one skill. You don't want AI to speak like AI. You want it to speak like your organization.
Correct. Yeah. And that's very obvious when you start getting into AI, because it starts asking you, depending on how you lead it, do you want to brand this? Do you want to start building this into your brand, really bringing in colors and everything else?
Yeah.
Right. I've got libraries. Yeah.
Just training your AI. I think that's number one skill. All right. Well, I could go on forever. Rod, I had fun. Right. This was great.
I did too. And just real quick, Denny, great content for live audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
One quick question. Can AI help deadlines across multiple grants? Yes.
Absolutely. AI helps me track deadlines across my email address, across my own calendar, much less than multiple grants. So it could do all.
Wow, yeah.
It can help remind you in the morning what you have due that day.
All right. I'm going to wrap you up while you're out traveling and fighting your next battle. And this has been a true pleasure. Any final words before you wave to your audience here of 582 people?
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
Please reach out to me. I hope this has this feels like it has hit home for someone in the audience. And if it does,
I think so.
Feel free to reach out to me if you think we could work together on a mission that is bigger than us. I would be more than happy to hear from you.
Love you, girl. Thank you so much.
You so much.
I'll be waving at you down in Texas as I run by, but I'll be contacting you too. I'll wrap everybody up here for a minute because I love to talk and I got time. Go do your thing. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see you on the other side. All right. That was awesome. That was a curiosity for me going in because I didn't know how much people knew, and I never really gave enough consideration towards we talk about AI all the time, and now we're talking about this seemed to be heavy AI because grants, as you know, I know a little bit about grants and stuff just because I've never applied for one or never done any of that, but I've always been interested in it. And every time I started to look into it for different things, it's like getting an SBA loan times 1,000. It's just not an easy thing to do. Meaning they run you through the ringer. And I assume that's important. That's why that's why I was surprised that what she's talking about on the fraud and the abuse being at 45, I think she said 42 or 45. I don't remember which one she said, guys. But in that 45% of the money spent within the grant world, let's say, is spent by fraud and abuse. The Doge thing, I didn't want to dive in there too much when she said it hurt worse than it helped. I'm not sure what she meant by that, but I'm really surprised that the amount of fraud in something that is so difficult to get. It's like it's almost there to weed us out so that the professional fraudsters have more room to get this and steal this money from. And by the way, grants, who gives the government money? Do they produce their own money? Do they have a money factory back there? Are they out there, or is it our taxes? Corporation and personal, right? Sales, everything else. But why is that number so freaking high? Like she said, if we would have been able to talk on forever, I would have loved to dive into some of those topics because, it wasn't a political discussion, and I think we had some nice little discourse there, a little bit back and forth where we're like challenging, but not being rude or obnoxious, and while still staying to the point. But I would love to get into more of this kind of topic because something like this, I mean, we're talking about, what is it, trillions? I don't know, Lydia, I don't know what the amount of money that are doled out in different grants and these things that we were chatting about today. I know we're talking obviously more than billions. I think it's multiple trillions ish. So it's an interesting topic, and it's definitely an important thing. And it's something that needs to be less unknown about. And now as I sit back and think, it's like, wait a minute, 45% of government grants. Now I'm assuming the corporate grants, there is no fraud and abuse. I'm assuming that's well regulated, well managed, well checked out. But the government ones, so let's say it's $16 trillion. Let's make it let's say it's $10 trillion. They do. I mean, it's probably more like 2 or 3, but let's say it's 10 just for easy math. That means out of $10 trillion that our taxpayers have gone out to these great causes, at least by name and description, I guess, and a lot of them by actual case. But half of those, 40, so out of $10 trillion we're using as a number, 4.5 trillion of that is some fucker out there stealing money from us, or multiple fuckers, or I guess other countries. And that's why when she said Doge didn't work out so well, I thought that was blocked. But I wish there was a lot more ability for us to quit bleeding and bleeding only because they're just raising our taxes and we have nowhere else to go with it. And, now they're tapping all the people. I heard a story the other day. A guy goes, hey, he's mad at this guy. He goes, hey, I think everything over $2 million a year should be taxed at 70%. And this was a small business owner. And he goes, 70%. That means it costs me more to get up than it does to make the money. Or the other way around, I guess. He goes, why wouldn't I after February? Why wouldn't I just shut it down, furlough the employees, and go on vacation with that $2 million for the rest of the, what would it be? February, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. And of course, the little college kid that was screaming at him about it was just screaming, continuing to scream. There was nothing in response to that. It was just that he's a greedy bastard. I don't know how everybody feels about all this, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the highest 1%, although you know how I feel, elites have a lot more access, and I don't blame them for that because there's reasons they have that. There's reasons we don't, but that's why we're putting this together. And AI honestly gives us more abilities to be able to go after things that large corporations thus do, and can make us more equitable in competing and then growing our own personal wealth or family generational wealth. So with that said, there's just so much more to all these stories. And, I like we said, we're here to dig deep in the subjects, and it's time we do. It's time we start getting even deeper into these things. And I'm glad she reacted the way she did with the educational system. And here's the thing I want to leave everybody with. I thought that was amazing what she said. Watch the budget. Like the budget that's going on right now, one side calls it the Republican shutdown. The other side calls it the Schumer shutdown. And there's, let's not get into that. And so we're sitting here looking at that. I mean, there's a CR out there. There should be no reason this government shut down, but people won't vote for it because they're afraid of their base. Their extremist base may run after them and get them out of office. So it's all about their own personal gain or fear of losing their own personal office. I'm just so sick of this crap, man. I'm just so sick of this. It's just disgusting, and it's just so irritating that, I mean, here we had two people, and I guarantee you we're looking at two different reasons why the government's shutting down. Now, I don't know where other information's being sought. And I didn't ask that question, so I had no right to press it, although I really wanted to. But you know, that's a different show. She's here to talk about what we're able to gain through these things. But the whole point coming back to this, if you're the grants in the current time, the next quarter, in the grants you should be going after are the ones you discover that are being pushed by going and checking out the budget that Congress has or the Senate has. You know, that budget is going to be followed closely by the then corporation. You know, like she used an example, DEI. Yes, it's a marketing thing. It was for the corporations. It was for the government. No matter what you believe in DEI, the point is, last year, you should have been going after DEI type things, but it's still related to education, which is still a big deal. The mining, she talked about the mining education, the historically Black colleges, that education, meaning the coal education and then DEI, all these programs. So I'm feeling pretty good about because of this conversation and because of the beautiful information that Lydia brought on. I'm feeling pretty good about I'm feeling pretty good about going and having a conversation with Lydia. Maybe we'll go down and I'll wrestle a longhorn calf, baby, a stuffed animal for her. And as I'm on my way down to see my granddaughter, and we'll go over some grant stuff because I'm feeling pretty good about this now. I left in also what she had another great example, grants.gov. Go on there and get a feel for what the current, because like she said, every year it changes. You know, it's a new year, it's a new set of regulations or a new set of directives. So yeah, get involved in that. Use AI tools. And Lydia said also, and on her website, this one up. No, I got that one up. This is the grants.gov one. And then this is on her website. She has a free tool on there for AI usage and more than likely looking, I haven't gone to her website yet, but I'm more than likely going on and looking at the available grants that are out there. With that, I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.